Frontier opening bell is Wednesday, the 12th of July. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the trading day. Let's get on, as always, on our markets. So just review, you can see all green. Quite a number of green shoots across a number of Frontier African markets on Tuesday, the second trading day, despite a very sharp decline, about 7% that we saw on the Zimbabwe stock market, with that market now retracing and giving up most of the gains that it rallied up between the month of June into July. So the Zimbabwe market fell again by 7% yesterday, of course, with those announcements from the government, Ministry of Finance, regarding some pharmaceutical retailers, pharma retailers who are using illegal or unapproved exchange rates of the Zimbabwean dollar against the US dollar in terms of their businesses. The government came down very hard on about a dozen of those pharmacies, and that's in the news. This one, they've been penalized. Some are suspended. Government says others could have their licenses withdrawn. But if you look at the Nigerian market, despite those few hours of glitch that we saw earlier in the day, the trading engine of the Nigerian exchange, the market finished at 1.65% on the upside, thanks to two of the largest cement makers, Dangote Cement and, of course, Boa Cement. The shares of FBN Holdings, which is the parent company of First Bank, fell yesterday by about 6% as the battle for the ownership, the largest ownership of share of the First Bank Nigeria Limited, continued between two of Nigeria's billionaire businessmen, Femi Otedola on one hand and Oba Otudeko on the other hand. That issue is now been stepped into by EcoBank, asking FBN Holdings to disregard the latest share presentations of majority shareholding of the bank because Oba Otudeko is allegedly owing EcoBank about 13.5 billion in local currency, and those shares were part of what the Supreme Court judgment just about a few years ago asked about Otudeko to deliver. The whole issue is still out there right now. It's got to be sorted out between the SEC, this Nigerian exchange, the two banks, and all of that in this. But the market is moving on at 65,000 level. The Nairobi stock market is still in the green. The Johannesburg stock market, which is the GSE, the largest exchange on the continent, continue to move in the green territory. Again, the emerging markets, including Europe, Euro Stock 600, finished off better on Tuesday as well. So the South African market was part of that. The BRVM composite touching 203 on the composite, as we saw some gains also in that particular market. The Egyptian stock market, back in the green since Monday, added another positive reading on Tuesday. So that's where the markets finished off yesterday. Just to summarize things for you, let's look into the East African markets with some of the biggest news. The IMF is looking at July the 17th to present the 50th review of Kenya's relationship with the IMF. That will be very crucial for President William Ruto's administration in securing further funding support from the International Monetary Fund. And Safaricom says it's been able to create more jobs within the East African community, in particular since Safaricom Ethiopia PLC was came into existence about a year or so ago after the privatization and licensing program that Prime Minister Abiy did, and says it's added a couple of more jobs. And that's some good news, of course, for the Ethiopians, and of course, good news for Kenya, where Safaricom is home country, really is. Quite a number of news within that region. So let's take it up into West Africa and Nigeria, and talked about the FBN Holdings issue. The share price crack fell yesterday because volume also thinned down very dramatically on Tuesday. Just about 22 million ordinary shares of FBN Holdings shares were traded. The smallest size of such a transaction size since the start of July. And of course, since the latest rivalry between the Otedola and Otudeko came into this. Of course, it's always been an issue. A couple of years ago, the battle for the board of FBN Holdings, which is the Nigeria's largest financial services company. In the meantime, the latest data from Nigeria's upstream regulatory agency was that Nigeria now accounts for about 30-35% of gas reserves on the African continent, and that's put Nigeria in the number one seat. The level of reserves Nigeria has right now is said to be around 94 trillion cubic feet of gas, and that's from the Oil and Gas Conference, which started yesterday in Abuja, and that's in the news. Of course, the latest from the West Africa Capital Markets Integration Project Conference, which started yesterday, also in Lagos, was unveiled yesterday. The $850,000 project is being supported by the EFDB. The full stream going live to the single virtual exchange is expected to be on by the year 2025. We've got a whole lot about what are the processes about rulemaking for issuers, for traders, those who are brokers in the market, what about the tax issues, currency exchange, the clearing and settlement to the PAPSS, and the role of the central banks in ensuring a single market for the current 4 exchanges on the continent and onboarding 4 more others, Liberia, Senegal, the Gambia, and Sierra Leone, were all part of the conversation yesterday. The conference continues today. And Benabe in Cote d'Ivoire, which is a listed company, reporting that is paying a very handsome dividend, about 993 million CFA franc to the shareholders. That's some good, by the way. And Badia, which is the African Development Bank for Africa, says about $75 million in grants have been given to Cote d'Ivoire to support the country's housing market, while Equatorial Guinea has announced that it's going to be an e-visa service to all foreigners or nationalities in the country. And that's pushing the country forward as far as ease of doing business, travel, and all what have you is concerned. Let's get on to the Southern African market. By the way, don't forget the FMDQ in Nigeria goes live today with the exchange-traded funds derivatives trading on those 3 government papers, the FGN bonds, the T-bills, as well as the open market operations. And of course, today, the Central Bank of Nigeria will conduct the weekly primary market auction. 142 billion naira worth. The Central Bank will roll over in 3 dated instruments. Let's get those results out for you later tomorrow on the program. Let's get on to the Southern Africa's space. In good news from Tanzania, of course, that was in East Africa with the listing of a live zone metals on the New York Stock Exchange just a few weeks ago. We just want to say congratulations. It's never late than say congratulations for raising the curtain for this metals company listed now on the world's biggest exchange. That's the NYSE. So talking about Southern Africa, the President Ramaphosa has fired a warning to the cabinet and said everyone should shape up in terms of their performance, because there's a general election coming in 2024. And that's the latest from the president, who's trying to see how much support he can gather for his second tenure bid, as South Africa faces one of his most crunching crises in terms of electricity, no thanks to the problem with Eskom. And I touched earlier a little bit about Zimbabwe, talking about the 2-page announcement released yesterday by the Office of the Ministry of Finance, Dylan Dube, who says that a number of pharma retailers have been sanctioned for using illegal exchange rate figure for their activities, and the government's frown very seriously on that. That public notice is out there. Quite a few other headlines to go through within that region, by the way. And of course, Total Energies says it's going to restart Mozambique's LNG project, that $20 billion project, by next year, 2024, and that the first gas exports will be ready by 2028. That's bringing you up to speed on that. Let's just finish it up in North Africa. And of course, Egypt's annual inflation data came in, and just unpacking that as far as urban inflation, core inflation is concerned, not so pretty good news, as it were. There are quite a number of other headlines that we're following through in North Africa this week. And just to let you know that the Tunisian stock market is in a groove, crossed the 9,000 reading on the Tunis index, main index that is this week. And we're keeping an eye on what is going down or what's going up in President Said's economy north of the continent. Keep an eye on that. We'll keep you posted here on Frontier Opening Bell. I am Boston Mofai. Do have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you again soon.